Do you want me to delete the 2-second live video?
Yes, please.
Okay. Ooh, I don't have the privilege as to delete your post.
I'll go in there and I'll fix that.
Yeah.
Then myself. All right, Dave, can I hop in there to share to that?
Yep, you should be able to do your thing.
Thank you.
Just making sure it was running.
Cool. Cool. All right.
The old picture of Matthew Cole. Pick of our old boy. Our old boy. I couldn't find any tissues, hence the...
Oh, they're under the sink.
Oh.
Oh, well. Next time. Are we on camera?
We are on
This is
camera
not
now.
the first time I've used a toilet roll at
I'm
least.
just now sharing it to
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you.
Wash your hands. Catch your sneezes.
spade and neuter your pets.
Take care of your pets. Drive your kids to school.
Don't. Oh, actually, no, Jake, I can't delete that 2-second live vid.
Don't do drugs, kids.
All right, send for approval. Yeah, here. You're good. Good night. Cool.
Right then.
Then you just need these for the audio. And you said you just do a quick intro and then you jump into your song? Okay. Yeah, go sit down. I'll run it from here.
That's how we go at it.
Knock that off the damn thing.
I'll turn the audio on when you're ready.
Yep. All right. Check, check, check. Check. Okay.
Witnessed, my friend.
All right.
Shining chrome.
This week on the 3DMs podcast, we're going to be talking about The Punisher. We're going to be talking about the Justice League. We're going to talk about filthy morality in D&D. And we're going to be talking about Rangers, Rogues, and Paladins.
What is that coming from?
Sorry, it's going from my iPad.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the 3DMs podcast. We're on episode 6. I'm Jake. We have Paul with us as per usual, and Clint could not make it, so producer Helen is stepping in to fill his chair. How's everybody doing this week?
Oh, I'm pretty good, I think. Things have gone pretty well for me. I hope things have gone well for you, too, but everything's going according to plan.
All right.
Other than the fact that I think I caught your cough, I feel better now and ready to talk about Rangers.
Excellent. So, before we go any further, pause for the cause, pay some bills. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Watchtower Comics and Games, in Southeast Michigan, in Dexter and Milan. Watchtower Comics and Games, nice, fun little store to go in, buy some dice, buy some books, buy some comics. They're kind enough to pay us to do this, and so without them, we can't do the show.
To pay our studio fees.
Pay our
mind
studio
you.
fees, but yeah. stop in if you can, give them a hand, give them a buck. They're really cool people.
They've done a lot
And
for us.
we'd also like to shout out Podcast Detroit. We record live every Sunday out of the Royal Oak studio. You ever want to start your own radio talk show, internet radio talk show? Check out Podcast Detroit. It's a lot cheaper and a lot easier to start a show than you'd ever imagine. It's a great setup, and they've got everything you need, best equipment to use, and it's all a very, very reasonable fee. Check out Podcast Detroit. And with that, guys, couple of things came out this week that really excited me. A couple of things in nerd culture that are fun.
You weren't recording. Lock talking.
Gotcha. Of course.
These things happen.
Secret
things
live
happen.
intro. Thanks
Secret
for all
live
of our
intro.
dedicated viewers.
Well, the live stream heard it at least. Everybody else on the radio. So yeah,
Exclusive content.
exclusive content. Yeah, for live video watchers. So you guys got to hear us talk about our sponsor. So a couple of fun things happening this week in terms of nerd stuff. Both The Punisher and Justice League came out this week, as I'm currently sipping my whiskey out of a delightful Punisher protein shake mixer.
I'm not
Classic.
sure that's what they intended it for, but
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's, well, I also put protein in there sometimes, but not with my whiskey.
Old Punisher to prove.
So, Punisher came out, and it's really good. I've watched about half of it. Somehow my mother has watched the entire show already, all 13 episodes. 13 hours of The Punisher. My mom just stormed through it on a Saturday.
shout out, Donna. You're committed.
Yeah. No, like, I love The Punisher, and I was just like, I've only gotten through 6 episodes so far, so I don't know how she did it. She doesn't even like The Punisher. She just did. It's weird. Justice League also came out, and I haven't seen it yet, and initial reviews are, so,
Well, it's the usual DC thing of one step forward, 2 steps back.
well, with their films, again, their print game is just amazing right now still. Dark Knight's Metal is awesome if you read comics at all. Like, just to go on a quick little thing, like
You
a
can
bunch of...
pick up a copy at Watchtower Comics and Games.
No,
in
you can't. They
Dexter.
sold out.
Oh, JK.
They got to order it.
You can order some at Watchtower Comics and Games in Dexter and Milan, Michigan.
You certainly could.
They, yeah, but Dark Knight's Metal is a really cool run they're doing right now. Basically, evil Batmans from different multiverses have showed up just to
Excuse
drop
me,
kick.
Batmen.
Well, there,
You mean men dressed like bats?
well, there is one who's a woman and has Aquaman's powers.
Okay, then what does that have to do with Batman?
Bats.
Because it's still technically Bruce Wayne. Well,
There is a kind of bat that actually does fish that was described in Thailand for the first time last year, and a Nat Geo team with a slow motion camera captured it catching a damn fish out the water.
Well, yeah,
so
but
there you go. There's a real animal.
bats don't swim.
No, they don't swim.
No.
It like caught a fish from on top of the water.
I mean, that's cool and all, but what does Aquaman have to do with Batman?
I don't know, man.
well, the whole point of the comic story is that each of these Batmen became, like, instead of becoming a Batman, they became a different powered version.
Whatever.
It's just go with me. It's a good comic. Okay, just believe me.
Okay, I believe you, Jake.
Okay,
And in the
the Batman who gets the cyborg powers is just damn terrifying. Just accept it. Okay.
Yeah, and in Justice League, at least in the movie, if it's not super good, you still have Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot. to
Apparently,
watch
that's actually one of the worst parts of the movie. Jason Momoa
Oh.
just fell flat on his face, according to a couple of
no.
reviews I read, which breaks my heart
Oh, no,
because I
baby.
really wanted him to succeed and for people to finally recognize that Aquaman can do more than just talk to fish. But all they did was just make jokes about him talking to fish. Apparently,
Oh, poor Smallville.
Hey, I would pay the movie fee to go listen to Jason Momoa tell me about fish for like an hour and a half.
yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
Remake Blue Ocean with Jason Momoa 2K19.
But I will give my full thoughts on Justice League when I actually see it, hopefully
Blue
next
Planet,
week.
excuse me.
But
BBC.
for right now, we're going to talk about the Punisher just a little bit. So the Punisher is a pretty galvanizing figure in comics and stuff, and how this relates to D&D. So I'm sitting there, I'm watching the show. John Barenthal is doing his amazing job as the Punisher, and
He's punishing.
what happens, I come to this point because a lot of the reviews for the show are just very upset that they're not talking about the gun issue, which that's something I don't even want to dive into on this show. But
There's
Let's
no
just
guns in
let's just
D&D.
avoid
We're not gonna
that.
talk about it.
No, there'll be guns in D&D if I can thing we're talking about today, so we're not going to be able to avoid
Oh, okay.
it. But
yeah, but one of the main things that I really got to thinking about as I was watching the show. A lot of people are very upset that Punisher kills people in the comics, as where other superheroes do nice guy stuff and save people. And that made me think about every D&D group I've ever played in, and basically how all rules of civility and honor and chivalry get thrown out the damn window the second initiative is rolled.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen people who I know to be rational, kind, loving, affectionate human beings shriek with delightful glee as they end somebody's existence with a
It's
battle
called
axe.
Bloodlust?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Berserk Fury is a powerful force, especially when there's the prospect of those sweet, delicious experience points, which in older editions of D&D you could only get by money or killing people.
Kill minions, get XP.
Yeah, no, but it did make me think, as somebody who's played a lot of paladins, I can't remember exactly the last time I've offered quarter or mercy in the middle of a fight.
Nope, initiatives rolled. Time to die.
Yeah, no, the second that initiative roll comes out, everybody becomes bloodthirsty monsters. So to anybody...
Well, what if your paladin is serving a god of war?
Even then, you got to offer at least the ability to surrender. I mean, you're a paladin.
I guess. Join my gang.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta have a little bit of
Class.
tenderness.
Some lawfulness, yeah.
Gotta have a little bit of tenderness. But throwing out to any of the viewers right now, do you guys have a successful track record with mercy, or maybe making people, stop fighting in the middle of a combat? Have peaceful resolutions of your combat, or is it like everything that I just imagine it is on the internet for all D&D groups, where there's just ceaseless slaughter and it's people fighting until everybody on one side is dead? I don't know. Let us know. Tell us about your games. But
they're PCs. They don't feel remorse, pity, or fear, and they will absolutely not stop ever until you're dead.
Well, the thing about D&D is that there are consequences. On our ride over, Jake told us of a time when one of his players faced a consequence for his actions. Can you tell us the tale of Leoman?
What a shocker, right?
the Tale of Leoman is a long-form one, but our YouTube page is about to be up and running here very shortly, so I will tell the
abbreviated Tale of Leoman.
No, I'll give you the full 20-minute, the long-form tale, okay? I'm long-winded
Watch
as
the
hell.
space for a bonus.
Yeah. But morality is something that I really do love the idea of messing with in D&D, and I see a lot of posts on various forums about either sticking to alignment and stuff.
Jake, you've been called out in the comments by Andrew. Can't confirm. You always end up slaughtering things the moment you can charm your way out, Jake.
Very true.
Or rather, can't
can't.
confirm. He's sainted.
I seen it.
Well,
Used to be ruthless, man.
yeah. But if anybody has any stories on times that combat was ended peacefully, or any way they view their morality, or even a way to justify a lawful good character just
barding your way out.
straight murdering. Oh, if I have high enough charisma score, I always try to wheel my way out of a fight, but that's who I am. So,
Hey, look at that
With
face.
that in mind,
with that in mind, though, we're going to continue our series on talking about the classes today. And the first one we have up today is actually the Paladin. I'm up. So,
indeed you are. Take it away, Jake.
all right. The Paladin was added as a subclass of the Fighting Man in the original editions of D&D. I believe.
would like to play a fighting man.
Yes.
I want to punch.
Also, hilariously enough, they had like the most strict, shall we say, barriers for becoming a paladin in the older editions. You had to have obscenely high stats.
Wasn't it 18 charisma or something?
Yeah,
stupid
you
like
had
that?
you had to have a ridiculously high stat array, and then on top of that, you also had to be a human. They didn't allow any other.
That's racist.
They didn't
lot-
allow
a lot
any
of stuff
other
was like
races
that.
to
Yeah, no.
play.
A whole nother podcast on that some other time. Or
Yeah.
never.
There's the old jokes, which I'll not go into here, obviously.
Yeah. Anyways, so after the first edition, second edition, Paladin came back again as its own part of the fighter array, no longer the fighting man array, and remained still a very hard to access character. In second edition, you again still had to have these ridiculous stats, and they kept the human only thing, but they later added supplements where they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, you can play whatever you want.
As it should be.
Let's see. So then that brings us to third edition, where anybody who uses a sword was turned into a bit of a joke. They were then also burdened with the fact that they had to remain specifically lawful good or lawful evil or whatever alignment they
You
had.
had to be exactly lawful good. You couldn't deviate in a fairly strict code. You lost all your powers.
Well, the same was true for Blackguard though, because if you helped some kid who fell on the playground who scraped his knee, you lost your evil powers too. Like it was a non.
Well, again, this is a martial class, so basically their only thing that mattered in 3rd edition was what's your carrying capacity, because you're not going to be doing much else. Rev up that pack mule.
Yeah. 3rd edition 3.5 and Pathfinder. Pathfinder Paladins got a little bit better. 4th edition finally opened it up a little bit. No longer everybody had to be lawful good. And finally that brings us to 5th edition.
Our current edition.
So, things that are awesome about Paladins now in 5e. First of all, we can finally multi-class them. Paladins used to, if you multi-classed or put any other levels into any other classes, you'd lose all your Paladin abilities. So you had to be devoted to being a Paladin. You had to, Paladin for life. It got branded into your left ass cheek as soon as you got your oath signed. Signed, warranted, and then they stuck you with the hot poker. So, Paladins in 5th edition can now multi-class. They can do all the stuff that fighters can do in terms of they can fight with any weapons, they can wear any armor they want, and they can look pretty good doing it.
That's important.
You got to look
Paladins
stylish.
too.
Style is important.
Paladins also got very complex to play as far as comparably to other classes in 5e. Each of the tenets of each of the oaths you have to take, kind of dictate what that flavor is. So if you go Oath of Devotion, then your honor, duty, courage, so on and so forth. Oath of the Ancients is life above all else, light against the darkness. And Oath of Vengeance is I'm going to take the stick that was put up my butt and I'm going to beat you with it mercilessly, you evil sack of shit.
Until I have revengeance.
Yeah.
Rules of nature.
Now, each of them play with a pretty intense play style focused on. You have to keep track of the fact that Paladins have a bunch of auras now. They gave everybody aura. They gave Paladins a bunch of auras at like 6th level and 10th level, and they change given on your subclass. You get a bunch of different spells depending on your oath. Devotion being a pretty standard array of, I'm here to do nice guy stuff, and Vengeance being an array of how do I murder you more effectively. With Oath of the Ancients doing some kind of cool foresty stuff right in the middle. It's a nice little middle ground between the two.
I've never actually seen was it the Green Oath?
The Oath of the Ancients. Yeah.
I've never seen anybody actually play.
They're a lot of fun. They get a bunch of really cool spells and a bunch of neat abilities. Like they can do Ice Storm and things like that. They can do a lot of Misty Steps, things of that nature, but so can Vengeance. Vengeance is just a lot of fun, though, because its raw damage output is impressive.
Oh, yeah. It's got some of the highest damage output in the entirety of the edition so far. So,
yeah. So let's talk about what you get when you sign up for Paladin. You get Lay on Hands, which is perhaps one of the most entertaining heals in the game, because I've never met a Paladin who doesn't take it as a good opportunity to either A, pat somebody on the shoulder or on the butt, like good play, give them a quick little healing pat on the butt
GG,
cheek.
bro.
Or my personal favorite, the backhand of healing, where you just,
You weren't
wind them
being
up.
dumb,
Yeah,
a
you
d-
wind
a
up.
dope slap of
This is
healing.
what you get. This is what you get,
You were so dumb back there.
You're
It's pointed
really
out in the
dumb.
comments, a paladin with a cleric or bard dual class could be a fighting gospel singer.
oh, yes.
That's actually amazing. I'm going to make that now. I am going to make that now.
Yeah, and I was going
Surprisingly,
to say
they,
maybe a paladin dual class with a monk might make good sense RP wise. Like you trained for years in the monastery and now you're a
Oh,
jump
no,
in.
Paladin, really quick, just as an aside, Paladin Monk is so much fun because you start doing a bunch of schlocky superhero stuff. Like,
Love it.
since your fists count as weapons, you can channel smites
Through
into your fists.
Oh, yeah.
Which is amazing,
yeah.
just like an open hand monk with the ability to knock somebody 15 feet. I'd have to double check rules, but I think it stacks with Thunderous Smite, so you're just like hitting somebody with a kick really hard and sending them 30 feet.
Damn, dog.
Like you're making them do the Team Rocket blasting off again thing with a punt. It's amazing.
Yeah, a smite fest indeed. Or smite fist indeed.
Yeah. Also, too, they changed the Smite rules.
Dennis in the comments there.
Back in my day, when
my
we had to
day.
play Paladins, Smite was either I'm going to hit you or I'm going to miss this really badly.
And you only get like 2 of them.
And
so
you only get 2 of them, so use them wisely. And,
Use your
Be prepared to dice shame if everything goes wrong.
use your inspiration points.
Now they
Inspiration
last.
doesn't exist at that point.
Oh,
So-
yeah, right.
They're concentration spells, so they last until either you get slapped out of keeping your smite on your weapon or until you hit somebody. And there is an amazing array of smites thanks to 4th edition. They decided to keep that idea. And so now we got smites that burn you. We got smites that send you flying away. We got smites that damage your mind. We got smites that make you afraid. You got a cold. You feeling sick. You feeling bad. You feeling sorry for yourself. We got a smite for it. Don't you worry. Come on down to the Smite Emporium.
Javier in the comments points out that a paladin warlock would be basically Sauron.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, any of the Maiar, basically.
Yeah.
No, by allowing cross class with paladin, like any multi-classing with paladin, usually makes something pretty sweet, in my opinion. The only thing that
Paladin's level 1 level warlock dip, I have to tell you. It's the ability to get Eldritch Blast is so good.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in our next episode.
Yeah, when we talk about
Especially
warlocks
if you have
next
a nice
episode.
tower to do it from.
Yes.
And the only thing that still kind of holds the paladin back to this day is they still are probably the most stat reliant class in the game.
Yeah, they were tied with monks back in the day.
They
They're
still need
multi-attribute
to have an
tendency.
amazingly high charisma. They have to have a constitution because they're getting hit in the face. They have to have strength because they're hitting people in the face.
Got a big sword of justice.
And at this point, like you can take dexterity as a dump because, you're probably going to be wearing plate or, some form of heavy armor. But then intelligence and wisdom, that's where we get that trope of the idiot paladin who always just has no sense of what's going on because int had to be the dump stat.
You got to
would
dump
dump.
something, and
You want your wisdom high for perception and for
most
protecting.
rolled stat in the game.
Yeah, and also preventing being charmed and
Yes.
mind controlled. So, yeah, normally you just get the idiot paladin who's just like, I'm just here for justice, man.
Oh,
I don't understand how to make a sandwich, but I know justice.
I know what justice
I'm
is,
thinking
Jenny.
of that meme where it's like a bagel cut in half the wrong way. Like, is this a sandwich? No, it's not. Just go smite some stuff.
Yeah, no. So, opinions on paladins, guys, now that I've ranted about my favorite class in the game.
Jake, I'm just biased because I know you play a lot of paladins really well, and that's your favorite class. But otherwise, I like now that you can face consequences for not acting paladinly.
Yeah, as Paul can tell you,
real mechanics
back
for it.
in the day, that was a pretty good sign of some bad DMing, was every DM, the second they got their hands on a paladin,
How am I going to make them fall?
how am I going to make them lose their powers
Let
today?
me bust out my big book of trolley problems, where each one will cause you to lose your powers because I hate justice.
I have a suggestion from the comments. Javert asks, how would you build a paladin warlock that's level 8? Perhaps we should do that as our character sheet of the week.
Yeah, we can actually take a look at that. I mean,
Off
just
the
off
top
the
of my head.
Off the
Yeah.
top of my head, it would be 5 paladin and 3 warlock.
You want 3 levels of warlock and pretty much put the rest into paladin because
That
warlock
Eldritch Blast gets
abilities
real good.
scale with class, not with class level, but with
Well, you'll get
character level.
Yeah.
yeah, you'll get a couple of eldritch invocations. You can. So that way you can have a bunch of the cool back pocket abilities of the warlock. I'm sorry.
Jesse says
whichever
I'm
one's
too quiet.
Hmm.
Turn my mic up.
It's because your
I might
mic
be too
is.
far away, sorry.
You got your mic tilted. I'm afraid it's got to be front facing
Oh my
like
God,
this.
really?
Yep.
I was trying to use the mic.
Yeah, I'm afraid it doesn't work.
Anyways,
But moving on.
Yeah.
Also, my voice is quiet.
You can get you get Eldritch Blast and your invocations, and you can also take Pact of the Blade, which I would take for Paladin, because then you can do awesome hiding your sword in an extra dimensional space stuff.
You can never be disarmed.
Yeah.
Not for long.
Or
anyway.
also, too, you could Pact of the Chain could be cool, too, and then if you have a DM who's, like, willing to work with you on it, have a little, like, angelic cherub, that'd be kind of cool, like a cute little Cupid guy, just showing up. Hey, buddy, I'm your familiar. Hey, guy.
I would want Tiny Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
They just came out, the Celestial Warlock in Xanathar, so
Yeah.
I would recommend that.
And then 5 levels of Paladin, so that way you get your 2 attacks, you get a bunch of cure spells, and you get access to your Oath stuff, and, Oath of Vengeance or Oath of Devotion or whatever one you go. Also, really quick, Xanathars did add a couple of new cool things for Paladin, which are great. We got the Oath of Conquest, which is basically the closest to an evil Paladin we have other than the Oathbreaker.
Which is baby eating evil.
Yeah, Oathbreaker is baby eating evil. This is just taking over the world with an iron fist.
Yeah,
evil.
not handsome Jamie Lannister, Oathbreaker. Evil. Evil.
And then we got Path of Redemption, which is basically just the nicest guy.
Have you ever wanted to role play the Son of God? Now you can.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jesus man saving the world with the power of smites.
Yeah, walking around, and just... But he doesn't even want to smite you because he's so nice. He'll take damage for you. The only thing that I still really want to see for
Did
Paladin...
Jesus do that for all of humankind?
He did. He sacrificed himself. For
Took a big hit.
Anyways, finishing up here on Paladin, the only thing I really want to see added still is I don't think there's a good chaotic option that's been presented. I can see where it's hard to do.
You've seen
Right,
the
it's hard to keep an oath if you're chaotic.
the Oath of Freedom, right? Which
Yes.
is basically the communist paladin. I recommend that to
Love it.
anybody taking a look. The working man's paladin.
Yeah, we'll find that. We actually saw that. We have that PDF somewhere. We'll throw that one up there. It was a pretty entertaining Paladin oath, which is basically the oath of the proletariat or something like that.
Something like that. I can't remember.
It's something along those lines, but yes, it is the Communist Manifesto Paladin. And so if you're into schlocky over the top, for the proletariat kind of stuff, check it out. It's fun, and it actually looks pretty balanced.
Yeah, it's decently balanced, yeah.
And so, after all that delightful shouting about how they did Paladin right in 5th edition,
Y'all are going to hate on Rangers.
let's talk about Rangers.
Yes. Let us talk about Rangers.
I am fond of Rangers as I am a naturalist and love to think that I'm Aragorn because I, can't ride and I love to tromp around and write poetry. But they, that they can do all sorts of things. They're pretty good up until about level 5. And then they sort of lag behind the other classes somewhat, as these two have been telling me. You get a couple different class features. You can have favorite enemy. You can have, any kind of oozes can be your favorite enemy.
Yeah,
because
'cause
hate jellies.
You fight so many oozes in your average Dungeons & Dragons campaign. I think maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, you really got to know what you're going for. I've had a few friends being like, I picked the wrong favorite enemy.
It's a big problem for Ranger that Ranger
'Cause
had
you're
back
stuck
in
with
3rd
it.
edition is you better guess very well what you're going to be facing mostly in the campaign, because if you choose to
that's,
learn how to fight animals and you end up going to the Underdark, that's not going to do you much good.
You're SOL, buddy.
Or you can choose orcs and never run into a single orc in the entire campaign, and
Yeah.
then you're just out of luck.
How vengeful is your DM?
Yeah.
You can also have Natural Explorer, where you can favor a particular terrain instead of a particular kind of enemy. But again, you got to guess pretty well. Yeah, Hunter Ranger's own if you use your spells right, says Dennis in the comments. Yes, that's true.
They
But
do tons of damage.
if
But.
you use your spells right. There are a few archetypes, and you get a few, interesting abilities like Hide in Plain Sight, which can be apparently only used with natural materials like mud, dirt, plants, and soot. But, I want to see if a ranger could camouflage themselves against this, some floral curtains.
Yeah, just hide themselves in the curtains. And
Yeah.
You can't see me, I'm not here.
Totally 100% not here. And there's really only the 2 main archetypes, which is Hunter or Beastmaster. Beastmaster, you get a couple, Pokemon, basically, some animal friends, and they get, they obey your commands as best it can. They can speak to you, but not to anyone else, and you can understand it. Or, as a hunter, you can pick a special hunter's prey, so that way you can sort of cover your ass at level 3 if you do not choose the correct favorite enemy. You can give you a Colossus Slayer, Giant Killer, or Horde Breaker. And you can also pick defensive tactics, but that's at level 7.
Yeah.
So, what do you boys think?
Well past their prime. I'm
All
afraid
right.
they're like the football high school jock who never goes past their glories. I used to be somebody in high school. I was captain of the football team, and they never move on from that.
Yeah, Paul, if you want, just go ahead and tear Ranger apart, and then I'm just going to pick up the pieces. I'm going to pick up Humpty Dumpty and just tell everybody why it's still okay.
Yeah.
The problem with Ranger is that Ranger really wants to be 2 separate classes at once and isn't doing as well as either of them.
Go on with that. Expand on that.
Fighters do everything combat-based that a Ranger does better with Battlemaster Fighter and ranged attacks, because it turns out you can...
dual weapon fighting and fighter, too.
Yeah, you can get dual weapon fighting as well. You get fighting styles, you get more attacks, you get more attributes, you get Battlemaster abilities, which are... Yeah, okay, Ranger spells are pretty good.
Light correction, Battlemaster's stuff, a lot of it requires melee stuff.
It's true. But that being said, Rangers do tend to get into melee combat a decent amount, too.
Much to their chagrin, but fairly low AC.
Ultimately, I find that Rangers do not put out enough damage for me to want to bring one over a fighter.
Who might dual class with a druid or something?
Yes,
a
the
lot
thing
of
is-
the ranger spells draw from the druid list.
All the Rangers' abilities are like abilities that the druid gets by level 5 or 6.
Yeah, if you want to be Aragorn, just dual class a fighter and something else.
I mean, even Aragorn didn't do most of this stuff. Aragorn's mostly known for healing people and for being good with a sword. He didn't spend a whole lot of time with a bow or anything.
Right.
Yeah. So here is some of the initial problems. Yeah, so I guess I'm actually just going to help you in tearing apart Ranger a little bit more. They could be very useful if your party is going to be, if the party is going to be out in the woods, particularly a favored terrain of whatever this ranger is selected as their favorite terrain. Because if you're a DM who likes to have players get lost and keep getting into random nasty forest encounters, then
Rangers can't get lost in their favorite
rangers
terrain.
can't get lost.
Yeah.
And
Well,
there's
rather,
that,
they
like-
can't get non-magic, or rather, they can't get non-magically lost.
And
If the
also,
forest is like cursed or something, you're out of luck.
Also, to the Rangers' benefit for now, as it would stand, if a DM is willing to homebrew or just like be open to the concept of allowing a Ranger to have a favorite terrain of, say, a city, because something I still don't get why I haven't quite seen it come out yet for Ranger, but why there's no urban supplement stuff, because just a quick aside into my own games, like, I hate the woods. The woods suck, okay? I can describe you a tree about 10 different times, and then I think you understand that you're in a place with a lot of trees. I do some traveling segments, but I try not to keep my characters out of the woods.
Right, your games involve a lot more sort of socio-political maneuvering.
Yeah. So I prefer cities. So if you're going to play a ranger in one of my games, I'm sorry, you're not going to be in the woods that much. And you're
Right.
also probably not going to run into your favorite enemy that much, because you can't just name humans as your favorite enemy because humans are dicks.
With that in mind, also, I'd like to point out that the backgrounds, which are quite useful, and I like the change, but the Outlander background does everything that a ranger wants to do with the woods and just gives it to any class.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with a comment we got here from, I believe it's Kieran. I hope I'm saying that right. But yeah, when you pick Draconic as your favorite enemy type and you're just waiting for that one dragon, like, that's the one fight that the Ranger just, like, the second a favorite enemy shows up, yeah, they just throw everybody out of the way. This is mine.
I'm waiting this entire game.
Another problem that can just be neatened up for the Rangers. I still don't like that they made Beastmaster its own subclass, because it's not as in 3.5 you could just have like an animal sidekick.
My animal companion is more powerful than your entire class.
Yeah. And in this, you suddenly, like, even though they did a rework, let's not forget that. We didn't really read it over, but there is online a free Unearthed Arcana rework of Ranger, because even the guys at Wizards were like, okay, he underperforms. So you can still find that and you can download it, and they fix it and it plays a lot more competitively. But the biggest problem Ranger still has is, unless as a DM you are willing to sit down and do some things to really assist your Ranger, they are going to fall particularly behind.
They're fragile like a little lamb.
They're not going to be able to do as much damage as any of the other martial classes, and their spellcasting only goes up to 4th level, so a paladin can cast spells on par with them, basically.
And Paladin's a lot more useful than them.
And Eldritch
Has
Knights
many
can
more HPs, yeah.
also cast more spells like them.
Kieran also points out that Beastmaster also sucks because you need to spend an action for your animal friend to actually do anything.
Yeah, it's
So
poorly
you gotta
designed. They
choose.
fixed that. They did fix that in the Unearthed Arcana. Like, you can't actually just make it so your pet can run out there and kick ass for you,
Now-
and just have them, kind of World of Warcraft style, set to, toggle attack, toggle defend, kind of thing.
Now, to play devil's advocate for Wizards here, a huge problem with 3rd edition was characters running around with a gaggle of NPCs they could command. You could have an animal companion, you could have your cohort, you could take a bunch of hirelings, you
just
could
pet
summon some
NPCs.
animals, you could... Hold on, I'm just going to summon 8 things and start this fight. Okay, DM, would you mind taking these 16 miniatures and arranging them in this 6x6 room?
Yeah, gotta get the entourage in here. Dennis points out that making sending your animal friend to go do stuff, a bonus action would seriously increase the utility of it. And yes, it would,
I agree.
but people might think it's OP'd.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's OP, honestly.
No, it's used.
Ranger needs
They
the
need
help.
them, yeah.
So, guys, final thoughts on Ranger.
A good idea
If you're playing a low-level campaign and starting out, and then, you're only going to play maybe 4 or 5 games, it's fine. Rangers are okay in the first, 4 or 5 levels.
Yeah, Rangers are fine in the early game, but the ultimate problem I have with Ranger is at the end of the day, what are you doing that's better than what anybody else is doing?
Yeah, actually, Jake said, one of the few characters he's killed was one of my characters. I had a Ranger, and her favorite.
No,
scene was
I've
the
killed
underground-
about 20 characters.
Fair, no, but one of the more recent ones at least. And she has been mated, and but honestly, I was like, crap, where are we gonna go with this? We're only level 4. This is a mini shot that's leading back up to the campaign of the main plot of our main campaign. What was she gonna do? So
Yeah. So my final thought with Ranger is this: really, it's still incredibly strong early game. It performs well. It does very well up until around probably about 8th or 9th level is when it really starts to become deficient. Overall, I think there's still a lot of homebrew stuff you can do and a lot of utility you can add to it if you're just as a DM. If you want to play a Ranger in a game, because I understand you want that whole, I'm a dude who hangs out in the woods. I'm not necessarily a magical person like a druid. I just spend a lot of time in the woods, and I want that kind of...
There's the Outlander background for that.
There is the Outlander background for that, but there's still things like favorite terrain, favorite enemy type.
Well, the thing is, those don't even provide mechanical combat bonuses anymore. They're just fluff stuff now.
No, they're fluff stuff, but they're still helpful if
They
a
are.
DM plays in a certain game. I think there's ways that a DM can facilitate a Ranger to be useful, but ultimately, Ranger still needs a lot of work. I think a Ranger subtype of fighter...
I guess a kit, basically.
Yeah, a Ranger subtype of fighter makes more sense. Ranger... like you said, Ranger almost doesn't need to be a class at this point, but...
They're not going to remove it, obviously, because they
No, it's a classic.
removed one class from Dungeons & Dragons and give me back my Warlord Wizards. But to be honest, I feel like the Ranger was developed very early in the creation of 5th edition, and it was scaled back when they were trying to decrease the power level, and they scaled
And they
everyone
forgot
up
to scale
again and
it-
forgot
scale
to
it back
scale
up.
Ranger.
Yeah. All right.
It's just, it needs a lot of work, I'm afraid.
well,
Thankfully, they've mostly worked on it, given the Unearthed Arcana thing.
All right, guys. So, yep, that's Rangers. And if you're a fan of Ranger and we offended you, we're sorry. We didn't mean to.
come at us in the comments. They'll have things to say, I'm sure.
Don't
Don't
No,
taunt
pimp
I
us.
don't mean that in a
pimp
bad
us.
way. I mean,
Don't
come
pimp us out
taunt
for
them.
a fight.
I meant for a discussion.
I don't
which
want
on
to
the
get
internet is
beaten
the
up in
same
the
thing.
parking
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, exactly. I
why I
don't
have-
want to meet a
that's why I
Ranger fate in the parking
That's
lot
why I
tonight.
literally have a plastic orc sword in the trunk of my car.
It's not going to do much good against those Ranger fans. They'll sick their dog on you, and then they'll need to spend their entire action trying to get it to actually fight you.
I have a Subaru. I'll just drive away. A real Ranger car.
Okay. So that's Ranger for the day. Paul, let's talk about rogues.
Rogue, the thief, if you will, the Bilbo Baggins, the Grey Mouser, there's probably another inspiration that I can't remember off the top of my head. The Rogue is, I wouldn't say is the oldest class in the game, because Fighting Man and Magic User existed
Fighting
first.
man.
Kieran came to your rescue, though, and said it was wizards that insulted Ranger, not you. So,
Well, the thing is that rogues have existed forever. They came about very early in the development of even
Thieves,
before-
I believe they were called.
Yeah, thieves. We call them rogues now because it's more of a generic term than a thief. But they existed for a long time, and they basically fulfill the function of a multi-tool that unlocks doors and unlocks people's death. Rogues traditionally had a very hard time in 2nd edition and in 1st edition. They leveled extremely quickly, but they didn't get much out of that level outside of the ability to pick pockets faster.
Yeah, didn't they also only used to have D4 for hit dice?
Yes. Yeah, they had some problems, especially because they're the one who's checking the traps. So they tended to die a lot.
Okay.
That in mind, 3rd edition made rogues much better, and it's one of the very few martial classes that I like how it was done in 3rd edition.
Yeah.
Rogue is a very well-balanced class, and it was very good. Sneak attack was useful, use magic device was useful. All of their abilities had some use, and they got stuff all the time, so it wasn't boring at any point. Pathfinder has not treated rogues well, but the less we say about that, the better. They're now a tier 5 class instead of a tier 3
One
class.
of these days, we're going to just have our we're going to have nothing to talk about on the show, and we're just going to scream in the studio about what Pathfinder did to us and why we don't like it.
Kieran points out that you can think of rogues as a skeleton key if the key was made of knives.
Yes.
That's a really good description.
That is a good description. 4th edition rogues were okay. They played a lot like World of Warcraft rogues, and that's all I'm going to say on the matter.
Yeah.
5th edition rogues are a bit in a weird place because almost anyone can get proficiency with thieves' tools now, thanks to the criminal background. And the thing is that you used to bring rogues basically to unlock doors until wizards were flying
unlock door
apocalypses
spell.
in human form and could pick all locks instantaneously.
Hey, hating on wizards is next week.
Yes, that will be my job next week. But in this case, rogues are useful. Rogues do a lot of damage. The archetypes of the rogue, the thief, the assassin, and the arcane trickster, they're okay, I guess. The swashbuckler from Sword Coast Adventure Guide and Xanathar's is eye-wateringly powerful, is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
I recommend it to anybody who'd like to play a rogue. That being said, Game Master should keep a careful eye on it because it basically allows unlimited sneak attacks. And sneak attacks are quite good.
Yeah.
Especially with bounded accuracy and hit points. Rogues do a lot of damage. They have a lot of utility. They've got some of the best skill rolls in the game, and they get some of the most skills in the game.
So, you know who else is really skilled, by the way? Watchtower Comics and Games. Both in Dexter, Michigan and Milan, Michigan. If you're ever in the southeastern Michigan area, please check out Watchtower Comics and Games really quick. We just got to get an ad in for our sponsor. Great people, though. Go in there, buy some cards, buy some comics, help them out. They're kind enough to pay our fees to do this show. They're really cool.
Yeah, they've done a lot for us.
Also, if you're in the Southeast Michigan area and you want to start a podcast or a radio show, please check out Podcast Detroit. We record out of the Royal Oak studio every week. It's a delight. It's super easy to work with. The studios are very comfortable, very warm, very nice. And as the winter approaches and you need something to do just some night a week with your friends, start a show. It's fun. Rates are reasonable, and everybody here is excellent to work with. And they'll
Studios
help
are
you
good.
do, you want to keep it low key, you want to make it super serious, any way you want to do it. Podcast Detroit can help you out. So please check them out if you want to start a radio show and you're in the southeastern Michigan area. But back to rogues.
I like rogues.
I like rogues too.
Rogues are good. They've got lots of useful abilities. I feel the thief archetype is probably the best out of the core ones. The arcane trickster needs some work, but the arcane trickster has always needed some work whenever it shows up.
Well, here's one thing I do love about Arcane Trickster. It is definitely that class. Whenever I see someone pick that subclass, either I'm terrified or I feel pity. And it depends on how good that player is.
Yes.
If there's somebody who can mess my day up with just like coming up with ideas that I can't even legitimately plan for, then I'm just going to be caught reeling. It's just going to be like watching, a really one-sided boxing match of the DM just going, oh, God, oh, no, how are you?
Where are
What?
those dice coming from?
What? Who?
They have tons of tricks.
You
but
snuck
like,
up on me, sir.
Yeah, no.
like most of the subclasses for martial characters that lets you cast spells, I think it gives up too much for too little.
But they're really good. They're really good in a corkscrew thinker hand. Like if you're somebody who thinks way outside the box, the Arcane Trickster is really devastating.
I can agree with that. I think it's the weakest of the classes, but Rogue has done very well in this edition.
I would
Made
say
out like a bandit, if you will.
I would say Assassin is probably the weakest for my money, just because everything that its kit promises it can do, Swashbuckler can do better, and Thief adds a lot of utility in climbing walls. Like at first glance, like you read the Thief stuff and you're just kind of like, eh. But then when you really look at it, if you apply a kind of like a slight outside the box approach, you can definitely see how you can become a real pain in the ass, even in combat with a thief.
They're more of a
Stealing
utility
your kills.
subclass, though.
But I ripped on Xanathar's pretty hard for just giving us Swashbuckler and Mastermind, because those two were from Skag, from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, and we had Inquisitor and Scout with Xanathar's Guide. But the nifty thing about those is they also add for us the ability that you can now play a rogue who isn't necessarily just like a thief. Like you can still do thieves' cant, and you can still do a couple of the specifically thiefy type things. But
You were kind of pigeonholed into a very narrow role, I have to admit.
yeah, but now with a couple of the additions, especially Mastermind and Inquisitor, you can play a very Sherlock Holmes type of character. Because we look at Sherlock Holmes both in say the modern depictions and in the classic,
The OG Jeremy
yeah.
Brett version.
yeah, or the OG Sir Arthur Conan Doyle version.
Yeah, the books.
Homie could break into a building. Homie did a lot of sneaky kind of stuff, and then he also had that keen eye for observation. So,
That's kind of his thing.
yeah,
so-
but with Inquisitor, you can kind of do that thing, and with Mastermind, you can be Moriarty. It's all like that's kind of what that is. I basically look at those two as like, oh, so you want to play Sherlock Holmes today?
Yeah.
Pick one of these subclasses. They're fun though. They add variety. Scout also is really cool because it does give you that slightly more military geared flair.
as opposed to the street urchin that the party picked up.
I know I said I was done ripping on Ranger, and
Scout is honestly like a
Scout is
version
a
of
better Ranger. Scout is a better Ranger than Ranger, and
Well,
it's
no offense to
honestly,
Ranger
Scout is
fans,
more
but-
like the urban ranger. I think that you really want, Jake.
yeah, no Scout. Well, Scout can be that, but
Yeah.
Scout also has some abilities that relate to just skulking around the woods. Yeah. Oh, I guess this is a little late, but I should go back and say though, on the Rangers' defense, having closely read some of the stuff for Xanathars, Horizon Walker is actually really good.
Yes, it
Or
does,
pro-
however, require you to have a very laser focus in your game on planar portals. So much like Favored Terrain, if you don't run any planar portals, you can kiss that
Well,
subclass
I was
goodbye.
more looking at the ability. They do have an ability that allows them to add an extra D8 of force damage every attack plus
And I feel like a fighter would still do that better, though.
a little bit. It's extra damage. It's
Going back to rogues, actually, we have Alan in the comments rocking a half orc, level 7 assassin, level 3 battle master. So much fun.
yeah, no, that sounds scary.
does sound
Fighter
scary.
fighter rogue combos are actually a lot of fun, or as I like to call them, the thug.
Or
the
a
thug.
fighter rogue warlock, which is what I'm playing right now, and she's.
That seems like too many classes for me.
I mean, yeah, I think so. She's a little OP'd, but
If I have my way, I'm gonna talk her into multiclassing one more time.
I did just nearly crash a ship because I don't have enough intelligence. I
just
was like,
take a couple
I'll come
levels
over
in
to
every
this guy
class.
who's
What could
signaling
hurt?
to me. Good thing Clint wasn't playing because I could hear him from his frat yelling, "Don't crash my ship!" So, sorry about the Atronomous, Clint. It's fine. I promise.
Everything is gonna be okay.
I promise.
Well, also you should apologize to Paul too because the Atronomous is technically his ship.
I didn't crash it.
He won it. He won it in the first place back in the original Alien game.
Young Tim suggests rogue hybrid classes besides rogue fighter.
So
Well, Rogue Wizard's better arcane
here's the
trickster.
thing. Let's just go to a base point. Rogue is not a bad
Andrew.
idea
It's fine.
for
I didn't crash it.
anybody.
It's not crashed. It's fine.
Yeah, basically, yeah, that ship belonged to a lot of people. But back to Tim's comment. So
Mine now. Sigurd gave me the keys. Dude.
You better give me my Porsche back. I'm sorry.
Rogue is not a bad idea for anybody. Like whenever somebody says, "Hey, what should I multi-class into?" Rogue is like I don't see anybody except for Bard because it's a little redundant with Bard unless you're going for
A very specific build.
I am the skill Ubermensch build, which because the one thing about Rogue is it's an obscure rule, but it's somewhere. I promise. But when you multi-class into Rogue, you get to pick 2 additional skills.
I think that's in the multi-classing section in the player's handbook.
Yeah, and then if you play a human
So the
rogue,
only
you get
reason you
another
do-
2, so you start with 5 skills.
Yeah, so the only reason you do Bard Rogue is because you're doing that College of Lore half-elf build where you have basically 10 skills and then you take another 2 skills and your final form is becoming Frieza and just being, look, I can make skill checks on everything in the game, but...
We also have suggestions in the comments for Rogue Paladin and Rogue Warlock.
Rogue Warlock is fun AF.
Doing dumb shit.
Yeah.
Do stupid things faster with more energy.
No.
Yeah, I got a
that's-
9 to int, but like an 18 charisma and a 20 dex. Y'all come at me. Don't, actually.
Yeah, and no, especially with the new Hexblade archetype 2 for Warlock. Oh yeah, no, that is That is some sweet destruction
Some
that they can
spicy
do.
tech right there.
Yeah, a swashbuckler hexblade warlock combo that's a Swiss Army knife of just getting it done on the battlefield.
Oh, yeah.
It's excellent.
Just because you can leave the ranger crying in the corner because they can't do anything while ordering their pet around.
All right, guys. Well, we got to get to our homebrew class review for the day. So, final thoughts on rogues.
Good.
Yeah, they're good. I've got no complaints about them. I think they're excellent. I'd put them tier 3, maybe even tier 2.
They're
if
fun
we
to
have
roleplay, too.
make it tier. Yeah, I feel they're somewhat narrow, perhaps, in archetype, like what you're going to do with a rogue. But I feel like that's more of a problem with the current archetypes released.
Very fair.
So we will have it.
Although
cool rogue
I
homebrew.
will say that Mr. Tamlin,
I do.
he plays in your Tuesday game.
Yeah.
Have
he
you
was
ever met a
mentioned in the
rogue like
comments
that?
Earlier.
Yeah,
Like-
there's no suggestion. Rogue monk.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, that's actually what I do. Yeah. Rogue Monk is gross. And Paul, just if we ever get to 13th level in this game,
Yeah, Andrew got a Whamlin test field.
Whamlin test field,
Early comments.
aka
it,
all of my names. So
Samlin Eastfield or something
yeah,
like that.
so
He lives on Maple Street.
yeah, something like that. All right, guys. So, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're about to get to our last bit of our show. If you've enjoyed the content that you're listening to today, please give us a like here on Facebook, 3DMs Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter at 3DMs Pod. And if you have any interesting builds or any interesting homebrew that you found and you know the author, or it's easy for me to get a hold of the author, please send them our way. Email us at 3dmspodcast@gmail.com.
And all of these, 3 spelt with letters.
Yes.
In the old-fashioned way. And especially if you'd like us to talk about something, please let us know, and we'll do our best to talk about it.
But yeah, please give us a like, give us a share, give us feedback. We love interacting with you guys. It makes the show a lot more fun when we can have an open discussion with everybody. So give us a like, give us a share if you like what we're doing. We really appreciate it. So, guys, Paul,
Yes, I've been waiting a long time for this.
you have been waiting a long time for this.
Pew, 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 pew.
Do we have the name on hand? Did we? Are we bad kids? And
I'm afraid we're bad kids. It was
God.
4 weeks ago, and I don't have the
You would
PDF
get
on
points
hand.
taken off for not having a citation right.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
we
here. Let me track that down really quick. But start talking about the gunslinger. Since we're
guns
talk-
and D&D are a contentious topic, and I've had a couple lively discussions about it in the Facebook group already. I have to tell you. The gunslinger is interesting because people have always tried to put guns in D&D, and they've always been a
Not
bit
quite right,
much.
Yeah.
I mean, they're historically accurate, but this gunslinger provides a list of guns, and the blunderbuss does twice as much damage as a longbow.
Well,
And
I mean, yeah,
it takes
it'll
about
blow
as long
half your
to roll
torso
with.
off instead of just,
It's also about as expensive as a longbow.
What?
Yes.
What?
And at the same time,
Well, hang on. So really quick, we got players' handbooks here, so we can look this up. How much is a longbow? Is it 50 gold? Like I think it is.
I think it's only 20 gold, but
20 gold?
well, man, it's been a long time. When's the last time I actually had to
I
buy
know
something?
they're pricey boys. I know they're very very pricey. Like you can send your kid to college, or you can buy a longbow.
Yeah.
Which is really anachronistic for me as somebody just thinking like,
It's
you know,
50 gold.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Longbows traditionally.
Yeah,
a peasant
somebody
weapon.
makes peasant makes 6 gold a month. You know, a ditch digger makes about 6 gold a month. That means he has to spend literally most of what he made this year just to get a longbow, and that's not even with arrows included.
No, you still have to buy the arrows. And you got to pay a Fletcher to do that too.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I feel like people focused on historical accuracy more than trying to make the game balanced.
Right? Come at us. It's not historically accurate.
A
Yeah,
pistol-
Kieran points out guns. How dare you add such powerful things to my world of magic, wonder, and dragons?
I mean, but also the pistol does as much damage as a heavy crossbow, and you get 4 shots before reloading. And even the gunslinger gets the ability to fire off all their shots at once in one action too, which is just obscene. So you get 8 heavy crossbow shots in one action. That sounds fair.
Yeah, that's like nonsense.
And on top of that, they
Medieval
get
crossbows would take up to 30 seconds to reload with a draw weight of over 60 pounds.
yes, they're actually traditionally also a peasant weapon, but that's
No, that was more of a mercenary's weapon. You would need to be trained to use a crossbow.
no.
somewhat.
Believe me on this one, they used lots and lots of conscripts with crossbows back
That's
when
true.
pike and shot was a thing.
Yeah.
But on top of that, all these abilities are. I really don't want to rag on this guy because I know that it's very hard to balance classes. Balancing is a tricky balancing act. But somebody didn't really think all these abilities through. They're all very, very good. They've got
Or they did think them through.
initiative bonuses. They've got the ability to web as a standard action without expending a spell slot.
Web like what?
Like the
Spider-Man?
spell web,
Ah, yeah.
which is incredibly powerful, and you can do it whenever you want.
Yes, David, by the way, yeah, no, Gunslinger is a very fun class until a certain racist against elves
Young Nacho.
elf came in. Poor Nacho. But
Right.
continue. By the way, so I did track it down. Credit for this comes to Mr. Alex Bell, who sent this material to me. I was able to find it down in my notes. So thank you, Alex, for sending us the Gunslinger class so we can
Wonder
Talk
at your
about it?
Wonder at your cojones.
You've got a lot of balls, man. That being said, grit is extremely limited, and one of my major complaints is that the ability to regain grit quickly is limited to one archetype. And the thing is that archetype already has a whole bunch of bonuses. The Lawman's quick draw and initiative bonus is ridiculous because initiative bonuses are very rare in 5th edition.
swashbuckler.
Yes, Swashbuckler, and there's a Sword of Warning in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
I think there's a couple items too, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Otherwise,
just... Let's not forget that fanning the hammer is actually not as overpowered as it sounds. It's a pretty reasonable ability. The problem is that the guns themselves are incredibly strong.
All right, so Paul, I let you take the lead on this one. I actually haven't even read through the subclass. Let's go through our patented, not stolen from anywhere else, 3 steps of 10 out of 30. How do you feel about the mechanics? How good are the mechanics? Like you say, they're very strong, but are these mechanics overpowered, or are they just poorly written mechanics?
I think they're more powerful than they need to be.
Okay.
In particular, the problem is there's a huge disparity between the archetypes. The gun mage is almost useless thanks to the unfortunate way which its ability to convert spell slots into damage is worded, because it doesn't convert on level, it converts on the number of spell slots you throw into it. So if you throw in 1 level 4 spells, the same as throwing in 1 level 1 spell.
Yeah.
It needs revision. It's a good concept, and I like the abilities.
Okay.
So I'd give it, a 6.
Mechanically, mechanically fun to play, mechanically enjoyable. Okay.
workable. Yeah.
How about fluff? What do you think? Do you think this adds to like a character playing this can really add to the world?
Yeah, I would say very much so. That being said, I would not put it in my world, but that's because mostly I'm using pre-pike and shot.
Yeah,
style
keep
things.
your guns away from my setting,
Fantasy
you
dragon
bastards.
thing. My elf game. I'd give it a 7 or an 8 as far as flavor goes. I think it's very flavorful, and the abilities all seem like a thing a gunslinger would do.
Okay. And last but not least, balance.
Okay, yeah, I got to give this a 4, maybe a 3. It's not. There's some serious balance issues with the class, especially with how guns particularly work. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to rag on it because I understand it's tricky. But why on earth is controlled breathing a bonus action, and why do you not have to spend anything for it to get advantage on your attacks?
I can see what they were going for with that, but
Breathing's a free action.
the idea, in shooting is,
Right,
holding
you
your
can
breath and all that and stuff, shooting in between the
But
breaths.
this is an ability that you get at 3rd level, and there's a 7th level ability in another archetype that does that, but costs your very rare resource points.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. Overall, though, so if I'm doing the math correctly, that means you give it a 18 out of 30.
Yes.
So it needs some work. It needs some love. I'm pretty sure, though, that if you want to put a gunslinging character in it, the best part of it is, as we discussed, the fluff, the stuff to add to your setting in this is very good. We're gonna get the official download link out, and we'll post it for everybody here a little after the show ends.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah. So buyer beware. Go in there, although it's free. But beware that if a player says they want to play a
exactly what you pay
gunslinger,
for.
it's going to be.
They're going to... no, so that was very rude of me. But
They're going to be very strong. It's going to be very powerful, but with a little finagling, and if you want to do some homebrew edits yourself,
I would adjust down the damage dice on the guns, maybe 1 or 2 steps down as far as dice go.
Okay.
And that'd probably be reasonable.
Yeah. All right. So, guys, we got about 3 minutes of airtime to fill.
Wow, we really already run out of stuff?
Yeah, we actually ran out of stuff for once. Instead of having too much stuff, we actually just the right amount of stuff.
Let's see then. Let's talk about alignment and how you should.
Yeah, let's actually
Yeah,
let's
let's come back to that. Yeah.
yeah, let's wrap up with Punisher and alignment. So again, guys,
How much mercy do you show your defeated enemies, or do you just slaughter them all?
yeah, we've been having a lot of great interactions with the crowd today. So yeah,
when I
anybody
played a-
still
When I played a goody two shoes paladin, I would try and be merciful, but my party members would out of character be like, "Why are you being such a goody two shoes? Why are you being such a baby?" And I'm like, "I'm playing my character. What's wrong with role playing?"
Now, to play devil's advocate,
The worst.
the
words.
argument that I'm doing what my character would do has been used to justify really bad behavior.
yeah, it has.
You need to understand that you're in a social contract with other people, and you need to be having a good time with them rather than playing
Right.
a role that frustrates people.
Right.
That being said, you're a paladin. You're supposed to offer mercy. Most people don't.
Yeah. I was just also, everybody else in my party was also a little sketchier than I really thought they were going to play. So
No, that's always a very fun thing when you sit down at a table and
I was like, guys, we can't
like
just steal from
all
the
your
bishop, but
friends,
they were
all your
just
friends that you think are
going
very
on
good
it.
people, and then they just sit down at the table and they're like, "Cool,
yes, blood.
yeah, we're gonna just do all of the
Shout out
evilest
to
things you've
Amanda,
ever
who was
heard."
just like, blah, to the other weeks when we had a fight. So
Yeah, pretty much.
love you. Just murderous little lady.
Lie down and make carnage angels in the blood snow.
Yeah, pretty much. Like just
Right, but
people
how do
going
you,
over the
you
top.
know, again, if that's a paladin who's supposed to be good, you know, in a la Leoman, just, you know, murdering the peasants, burninating the countryside,
yeah.
Well,
demanding free drinks.
paladins don't actually lose their abilities anymore for disbehaving, which is good because
Well, no, if
mechanical
you break
ties
your
to
oath-
alignment are cancer.
So you can still break your oath and become an oath breaker for paladins. That's still a thing, but I mean, I've never really truly banked on that. I've had to do that one time, and that's the Leoman story. That is the story of the paladin who realized that he had become a very powerful, influential man and threw out basically all of his ethics. And after about 10 weeks of him just being the worst person imaginable, I had to strip his powers, and then what proceeded after me stripping his powers was a 3-hour actual argument between all the players and myself sitting in Tim's living room. This went until about 5 a.m. of us just drinking whiskey and shouting about how this works. So
well,
we're going to record that story, guys. We're going to upload that to our YouTube. We're running out of time this week. So
There's
if
another show in here after us. Yeah, Podcast Detroit, hot stuff.
you want to send us any of your builds, any of your stories on morality, things like that, we'll talk about them. Give us a like, give us a share, show us some love. We love you, most
Please rate and
definitely.
review.
we love you too, dear viewer.
And yeah, we're going to upload all of our videos to YouTube this week. You can find our show on SoundCloud, and I think we're finally going to be on iTunes, guys.
We're
Thank
official.
God.
I think we finally hit the threshold where iTunes and most podcast providers, except for Spotify, will accept us as real people. So if you like our content, go check it out there. You can definitely find us on SoundCloud Premium.
And Podcast Detroit's website.
Podcast Detroit. We got a website launching soon. We got a lot of stuff happening. Pay attention. We're even going to start a Patreon soon so we can make money to finance this show on our own.
Yeah.
But
Last but not least, Watchtower Comics and Games.
and yeah, one more big shout out to Watchtower Comics and Games. If you're out of state, if you're not in the southeastern Michigan area and can give them money,
We got to go.
No. Okay.
if you're in the southeastern Michigan area and you are able to go and buy stuff, that's amazing. But if you're not, you're out of state, go find them on Facebook, give them a like, give them a high recommendation or a review. Just help out our buddy Ethan, who is kind enough to sponsor our show.
It's
Really
good
just out of
people
love.
generally, yeah.
So thanks for listening, everybody. Give us a like, give us a share. We love you. I'm Jake.
I'm
I'm
Paul.
Helen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're Paul.
You're Paul. Oh.
No, I'm not Paul. Whatever. I'm no longer the
Fine.
disembodied voice.
All right.
This is Helen. I'll be back to the disembodied
I'm Jake.
voice in 2 weeks.
They're everybody else. This was
Yes.
3DMs.
I'm many people. it
Everybody
seems.
roll well this week. We'll see you next week.
See you
Bye-bye.
next week.